Hello and welcome to another fun-filled nonsense retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick. Joining me equally as always is Devon.
We're going down to South Park Town to meet some friends of mine.
Yep. Man, wasn't the original by Primus?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah. We're Primus and we suck.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not a massive fan of South Park. I couldn't tell you much about it behind the scenes, except for the things that I do know.
So, early seasons of South Park started with I learned something today, so we're going to go a little bit off that.
Is that why you chose this? I didn't even clock that.
Yeah. Like, they did away with that. They used to have that in My Little Pony as well, Dear Princess Celestia. Like, crossover between South Park and My Little Pony, doing away with learning things.
I can't think of anything worse than crossing over the wholesome, adorable cartoon that is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic with the filth and rushed animation of South Park. It's impressive how quickly they pump out South Parks, but the art style leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, the art style means that they can. Yeah, the art style means that they can. Like, they used to have everything just loaded up in Flash and able to just create something in a week.
I mean, I still remember back in the old school days where it was literally just paper cutouts.
Oh yeah, totally. That was,
blew
in my opinion, a lot more charming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nowadays they try and be more about, it's more about pumping it out regularly.
Yeah, being on the pulse of whatever they're reacting to.
And to their credit, it's the reason why South Park actually keeps getting renewed is because I can't think of another animation that is so on the ball, and because no other animation really can be, because it takes months to make an episode.
Yeah, I mean, look at like The Simpsons and Family Guy are the other big ones, and when they try to react to something and make something that's based on, current events, they're always behind the times, and it always reeks of an executive wanting to muscle in on a meme, and not the team trying to do something fun for the fans.
Yeah, well, Simpsons back in the day when they tried to do it, they would try to predict certain things. So, for example, the tampering of voting machines.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and that turned out to be freaking true.
Okay, it wasn't a difficult thing to predict, Rick.
No, especially in Florida.
But anyway, we're not talking about Simpsons,
yes.
We're talking about South Park. But are we talking about South Park? Because we've got to do something else first.
Yeah, we're going to start with our good old time-honored tradition of the nonsense, asinine hypotheticals. And do you have one for me today?
I do. You get to purchase a fake restaurant from a famous TV show or series. What restaurant do you pick and how do you run it? Do you change anything or don't you bother? The reason I bring this up is because while it's technically not a fake restaurant, Casa Bonita got bought by Trey Parker and Matt Stone in real life, so...
Oh, yeah, they also don't accept tips there because they pay their waiters and waitresses like $35 an hour.
Which I respect, but at the same time, America's a tipping...
Yep.
Well, it's one of those. America's a tipping culture, but if their employees are actually definitely getting paid correctly, then you need to wean them off the culture, and what better way to wean them off than saying, do not tip here.
Yeah, the tipping culture has been normalised as a way to stop having to pay people for their work.
Yeah, it's one of those where if I ever visit the States, I'm not going to be a dick about tipping, because while I'm like, tipping's bullshit because they should get paid, they don't currently get paid, and the workers shouldn't suffer for it.
Yeah, like, that's why I go to places that are, like, where you don't have to tip, like McDonald's.
Oh yeah, that's different.
Yeah, like places where you don't have to tip because it's fast food and everything is baked into the price are often popular because you're not expected to pay an extra. When I first started going there, it was 10% minimum, 12.5% for good.
I thought it was 15.
And then it became 15, and now it's basically 20.
Well, I thought 20 was only if you were in a large party.
Maybe. And even that's for organising everything to come out at more or less the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of those where tipping cultures... We're from Britain, guys. We don't tip. I tip... Yeah. The only times I tip my Uber delivery drivers because they usually get fucked.
Yes.
I make it a point to always tip them. Sometimes it's only 10%, but 10% is better than 0.
Yeah, and do it in cash because otherwise it just goes straight to the company.
It's not supposed to, but I get your point.
Yep.
I tip delivery drivers if I think they're getting fucked over. So Uber is always an instant tip. I don't care. I also tip a hairdresser if they don't talk to me.
Yes. The old Ron Swanson argument.
I didn't even know that was a thing, but yeah, I always tip a hairdresser about 15% if they just cut my hair. I don't have to make awkward small talk.
Yeah, had a hairdresser for 25 years. Don't even know his name. Best friend he ever had.
It's one of those where like you're locked in a chair having someone cut your hair. If they talk, it's only polite to talk back, but I don't want to talk. Just want my hair cut. But I can't be rude because I'm British. We're not rude people.
Yeah. So after all that, I really don't know. Like, I kind of, because the things that I'm thinking of right now are diners in, here we go. I buy LeBlanc.
I don't think he'd sell, but fair enough. It's a fantasy question. So literally just a coffee house.
Yeah, and I would change nothing. I would basically just make it so that Sojiro no longer has to pay rent on his place.
You just want to chill out with Sojiro and get him to give you dating tips.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that one. That's a pretty decent one.
Yep. You might not have heard it over the Discord, but I had a literal light bulb moment and clicked my fingers when I figured it out.
I heard you click. It was that loud, and Discord's noise suppression did not suppress it for some fucking reason.
Yeah, so I'm picking LeBlanc. So, how about you? Same question, names reversed.
Same question, names reversed. I would cheat in this question, and despite it being my question, and I would buy Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
Okay.
I think it technically counts.
Yeah, fine. It's fair enough. It's a food thing.
That's basically the crux of it. Something that delivers food. I realise
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Rick, is I pulled this question out of my arse at the beginning of this episode, and I was hoping that the amount of time it would take you to answer would give me time to think of a fun answer, except we then went on a tangent where I was thinking of something else.
Yeah, but that's the fucking problem, isn't it? Like, if you go on a tangent and the tangent's good enough, then yeah, you are just engrossed in the tangent.
Oh yeah, but yeah, Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, and I'd completely get rid of the chocolate factory making process and make it a theme park. What would I change? Absolutely fucking nothing. Everyone must sign a waiver before going in. You may die.
Yes.
Much like the people who went on much like the people who went on the Titan sub, where it mentioned death 6 times on the first page.
Yes.
Again, before they sign, the very last sentence is, I must stress enough, you might die. You and your family cannot sue us because we've warned you so many times. The Oompa Loompas are cannibals.
Yes.
No, they're not. They live on chocolate. But yeah, I think that'd be a fun one. I'd probably keep the River of Chocolate.
I might put up a barrier around the River of Chocolate because people are fucking animals.
No, yeah, you don't. I put a barrier up on it because there's an official entryway to swim in it.
Yes, there's a chocolate spa.
It's not a spa. It's a fucking assault course. You need to be a competent swimmer.
Yeah. You have a separate chocolate zone dedicated for people that are allowed to go in it, and the one that's actually used for food is separate.
No. Here's the trick, Rick. Is you got one for food and you got one that is also for food, but you charge a premium because it's got real athlete
people
sweat
sweaty
mixed
bollocks
in
it.
Yeah, exactly. You sell it as a fucking kink thing. Oh, I'd make millions. Yep. I'd also probably get immediately shut down by the FDA, but it's not stopped Willy Wonka thus far.
Yep. You got one river for chocolate, the other river for kinklet.
But yeah, Rick, I think that was oh boy, we've spoken for 10 minutes and we've not even gotten to your question. What's your question, Rick?
Mine is a little bit of a tangent from what we opened the episode with. I learned something today. It's something that got dropped pretty early on from South Park. What is a early gag or trope from a show that you feel is better off without it?
Oh, you'll have to answer this one first because this needs prep time, really.
Sure. The one that I thought of for this was when they were trying to make memorable characters in Futurama, and they tried to force certain things, like Farnsworth in particular. He dropped it pretty early on of, but I am already in my pajamas.
I don't remember him saying that more than once.
He said it like, it was in at least 2 episodes, but I think they realised that...
Good news, everyone, was much more popular.
Yeah, it was so much better, yeah. Good news, everyone, I'm a horse's butt. That's not good news.
I don't think there's ever any topping the moment where he's on the phone going, to shreds, you say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is episode 1 as well, isn't it? Like, it's... It's peak Farnsworth, and it was before, like, they didn't have to force things like that because he's got better establishing moments. Yeah. And, like, even the fact that he was introduced as great nephew is already a pretty good gag.
Yeah. Like, there's that one, I can't remember if it's the first episode or the second or third, but it's definitely early on, where Fry says to the cop, to a cop, don't worry about that, that's just my senile grandpa. And he just says from the background, I'm not your grandpa, you're my great uncle. And Fry just does the loony symbol with his finger.
Yeah. Because it's one of those things. Craziness is a much more believable explanation for a lot of shit that goes down in Futurama. He's also the source of one of my favorite lines from all of Futurama, when everyone's gone stupid and Leela goes, "Oh, fire hot," and he goes, "Oh, fire indeed hot."
Yeah.
But yeah, was that enough time for you to think of something?
We get this reoccurring problem where we're talking about something that's so fun it's really hard to think and talk, or rather talk about one thing while thinking about another. I'm going to cop out a bit and say phrasing was a bit overdone in Archer for a couple of seasons because it was one of their overdone running gags, but they got it's like a standardized and actually put into the script version of the person that you knew that said that's what she said all the fucking time. Yeah, but it's really funny though because they play with it quite a bit. Like there's one where someone says something very obviously sexual, everyone turns and looks at Archer, and Archer just goes, "Nope, you expected it, so you're not getting it." And then there's like a whole season where they just don't say phrasing, and then the next season they start going, "Are we not doing phrasing anymore?" And then they try a bunch of different different ways of just saying the same joke but a different way. Like I believe Pam at one point said Ripley to the android bishop instead of phrasing. And and there's sometimes when Archer's barely able to fucking talk or move, and I believe he's in again Pam's arms, and he just goes he doesn't quite get out, and Pam just sighs and goes phrasing, and it's a good running gag, but sometimes it's overdone.
Yeah, I feel you.
I think having that season where they played with it kind of softened the gang, or rather the audience, to the joke.
Sure. Sure, I feel you.
Again, if you're going to ask questions like that in future, please give me prep time.
Sure. Yeah, this one was technically a bit more in depth than other questions that we've asked on these top 5 lists. And yes, today is a top 5 list. We're talking about the top 5 things that we've learned from South Park.
Yeah, I just want to stress that I like South Park. However, I acknowledge that South Park can be a problematic show for some people.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Its early bread and butter was on being offensive.
Pretty much. Like the only thing it did have a point usually, but that point was so thin and veiled in instances. It's like it was better than Drawn Together. I'll give it that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know what? No, I'm not going to tell that story. Let's move on.
So, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Simpsons Did It.
Yes. The message of this being, just because something is out there as a piece of media in the universe doesn't mean that you shouldn't put your own take on spin on it.
Yeah, like I think the line that defines it is right at the end, where Butters is sick and tired of everyone saying that all of his plans, Simpsons did it, and he points out to someone else, "Simpsons did it, you can't do that." And Mr. Garrison, I believe it's Mr. Garrison, it might be Mrs. Garrison at that point, the timeline's confusing in my brain, and
I think it is Mrs. Garrison at that episode, yeah.
Yeah, they just shrug and go, "Who gives a shit? Simpsons has been around for so long, it's done everything."
Yep. And this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Oh.
It was. Like, this wasn't actually that deep into South Park's run. Like, there has now been more South Park than there was Simpsons at the time.
Damn. But yeah, what's your number? Go on.
But yeah, it's like we say, there's no shame in reusing tropes that you have seen, enjoyed, and want to see remixed in your own way.
Yeah. But what about you, Rick? What's your number 5?
Mine's a real simple one. It's the existence of hermaphrodites.
It's a very rare occurrence, but yeah, go on.
It got discarded in later seasons as they turned Cartman's mom into a normal human being, and it was rewritten that she was trying to shield Eric from knowing who her father was. Who his father was. And the way that they did it in early season was say, "Oh yeah, the father is Mrs. Cartman."
You know what? I do vaguely remember that plot line.
Yeah, it was their very first 2-parter. So the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2, Cartman's mum is a dirty slut,
which is the actual truth.
Yeah, they trolled us with the Terrence and Phillip episode, and then Cartman's mum is still a dirty slut. And so I didn't know about hermaphrodites, and growing up, I'm pretty sure a lot of kids don't either, unless you are very into biology and know about annelids, which I learned about a couple of years later, still in school. But when I was 11, this is when I first found out about the term of the something having both sexual organs.
Yeah, hermaphrodites are pretty interesting in the sense that in a lot of species, it is not a common occurrence. You usually have either male or female genitalia at birth. Whereas, obviously, the most obvious hermaphrodite that people will point to is usually snails and slugs because, It's interesting that they tried to roll with Cartman's mum being both the mum and the dad, whereas I believe it's not biologically impossible, but it's biologically difficult to impregnate oneself, even if you have both organs.
Unless you're a flower, but yes.
Okay, that's not an animal.
Yep.
That's
I think what they actually tried to say was in early seasons, they were trying to say that Mrs. Crabtree was Cartman's mum, but they that was just something that Matt and Trey said, and it never became canon. It never showed up in an episode. And then Mrs. Crabtree stopped appearing because she wasn't that interesting of a character. All she did was scream.
She got killed.
Did she get killed? Okay.
Yeah, it was a bus crash.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that's when they stopped taking the bus to school as well. It's because the bus crashed and they just never replaced it.
Sure. That sounds about right.
Yeah. By the way, you shouldn't be watching South Park if you're 11, Rick.
Okay, but by the same token, we had VCRs.
Oh, I'm not knocking it.
It was on Channel 4.
Rick. Every child has watched or consumed a piece of media they should not have been watching, but I think South Park in particular will rot a young person's brain if they watch too much of it when they shouldn't be.
Yes. So, what's going to be what's going to be your number 4?
My number 4 is that Avatar has the same plotline as Pocahontas.
Yes. It is. Oh, man.
This is a discovery I made via South Park because, Rick, I don't know if you know this or not, and I'm sure the fans don't. I've never watched Avatar. Even when they were advertising it as breaking edge cinema, I looked at it and went, that doesn't really look that interesting to me.
Yeah, so when I watched it for the spectacle, which is probably the correct way to do it because the story isn't that great, but the effects are fantastic. Like, I've got to respect not David Cameron. Nobody should respect David Cameron. I should respect James Cameron, the bravest pioneer, which was also a South Park gag.
It is.
Of inventing the modern 3D camera.
James Cameron, right, by the way, I'm not boycotting Avatar or nothing. I didn't watch it when it came out, and I'm not going to watch it on my TV when it was clearly made for cinema. But it's one of those where I've got nothing but respect for James Cameron as a director. He's directed 2 of the best movies ever, Terminator 2 and Aliens.
Yes.
He's the one who had the common sense to be like, okay, we can't do a horror movie for Alien again, let's do an action film. And it was the right fucking decision.
Yeah. James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. And he goes down to the bottom of the ocean to raise the bar.
Yeah, I do remember that episode. There's a theory going around that James Cameron actually just directs as a way to fund his underwater adventures.
Yeah.
Because that is clearly his passion.
Yeah, totally.
What about you? What's your number 4?
My number 4 is the existence of Lord. I did not know who Lord was until I saw Randy do his I am Lord, yeah. And the way that he edits his poo talk into being actually legitimately good songs, and then I went off and listened to some Lord, like We Can Be Royals and all that. And apparently Lord took this in very good fun and was going around her apartment going, I am Lord, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
They do that. They take pot shots at musicians quite a lot. Like, I remember when they gave the Christmas story of Winter Slush, which is Slash, the guitarist for Guns N' Roses.
Yes.
Wait, hang on. But if Slash isn't real, who toured with Guns N' Roses in the 80s and the 90s? I don't know. One of our parents.
And sometimes it's not as always as good-hearted, like Kanye West was just a gay fish.
Yeah, well, as Kanye West has shown his true colours. So, that being said, I think Kanye West took that joke on the chin, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did, yeah. But, he's definitely got off the deep end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's nothing quite like saying the Nazis were right to prove that you've gone off the deep end.
Yeah. But yeah, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is you can change your stance on issues. I don't know how legitimate Trey Parker and Matt Stone were with these sorts of things, but hey-ho diddly-do. At least as far as South Park is concerned, they've changed their stance. The 2 specific stances I can recall that they have changed their mind on is both climate change and trans issues.
Yes.
I didn't know this when the episode first came out because I was a babby, but I didn't realise that Al Gore being hysterical about Man Bear Pig was a commentary on global warming and how it's not real, so you shouldn't care. Bear.
Yeah, so Man Bear Pig was meant to be some ridiculous thing that no one will ever encounter, definitely not in their lifetimes. And the original Man Bear Pig, didn't he save Chef's life and die in lava?
Oh, I don't fucking know. I didn't actually watch these episodes. Like, I just got told... Well, sorry, I didn't watch all of the episodes. I remember Al Gore going, "It's Man Bear Pig, you gotta believe me!" and breaking down into tears. That's the only bit that stands out in my mind.
Yep, it's half pig, half bear, and half man. It is Man Bear Pig.
You see this? You see this little snout here? That's from a pig.
Yeah, and yeah, they've obviously realised that, climate change and climate destabilization is real and actually worth worrying about. And it was actually a rather poignant episode when they did the Return to Man Bear Pig.
I don't think it was particularly poignant, but okay.
Okay, but the current generation having to give up something that they don't want to give up, and kicking the can down the road because that's what generations do.
Yeah, but I don't think
always able to blame it on the one before.
I will also go ahead and say this in that I don't think Trey Parker or Matt Stone have actually outright apologised for the obvious damage they've done, in the sense that there is a generation of people who don't believe this shit because of South Park.
Now, here's the thing. I don't think it's because of South Park that they don't believe it.
I think it didn't help.
Okay.
Of course, I'm not going to be like fucking it was entirely South Park's fault. That's fucking ridiculous. There's loads of factors. South Park not helping isn't great. But yeah, I'll hop onto the other issue of trans, genderism in general, really, where there was the episode back in the, I don't know how early it was, but they were like, well, if you could be transgender, well, this was just after Mrs. Garrison as well. If you could be
yeah, this is basically the Mrs. Garrison arc.
Yeah, Mrs. Garrison was going around fucking everybody because now she's a woman, she can fuck who she wants, and she was like, oh, I haven't got my period, so I must be pregnant. And then you move on to Carl wants to play basketball, so he gets trans surgery to be trans black, so now he's black and can play basketball. And Carl's dad goes to the place. I think it's like something rhinoplasty, and
Tom's rhinoplasty. Yeah. It's where Mr. Garrison gets his no job and he gets David Hasselhoff's face.
Okay, sure. And yeah, he goes there and it's like, well, isn't there anything you ever wanted to be? And it's like, I've always wanted to be a dolphin, so he has surgery to become a dolphin. And it's all like, haha, look at these fucking weirdos and having all their transitioning into weird things. And then later on in the episode, they do the kicker home of, just because I've made you look like a woman doesn't mean you are a woman. Just because I've made you look black doesn't mean you are black. Just because I've made you look like a dolphin doesn't mean you are a dolphin. Which, don't get me, bear in mind, the other two are just absurd scenarios that are not real in the first place. But the message of just because you look like a woman doesn't mean you are a woman would have probably hurt a lot of people at the time.
Yes, it would have been damaging. And there are still people that believe that gender reassignment surgery is only mutilation.
Well, that's a debate for another episode. I want to say I'm firmly on the stance of that is clearly bollocks, and I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, I'm on the stance of its treatment.
Anyway, regardless, obviously, as time's gone on, the two have tried to be a bit more trans positive. I don't know if they've ever made an apology for that statement. I've not looked that much into it, but they've clearly moved away from the trans being transgender is weird and wrong and freakish. They've obviously moved away from that.
Well, also the Lord arc was kind of an allegory for it as well. Like, Randy wanted a safe place at work, so he had his alter ego of Lord that he would show up to at work as a geologist, back when he used to work as a geologist, on days that he felt like he needed a safe space, and then he would use the gender-neutral restroom. And
then I do like how you got two takes on the gender-neutral restroom in that. I just want to say, on a personal level, I still think gendered bathrooms are fucking ridiculous, but whatever. But yeah, that was a random tangent that I feel like needs to be said from time to time.
Yeah.
It's one of those where they're like, oh, I don't want men in the women's restroom, and it's like, I've got a spoiler alert for you. If someone wants to be a creep, they're going to be a creep no matter what it says on the fucking door.
Yeah, the only difference is that if a man goes into the women's restroom today, they're probably going to get tasered by a security guard.
Doubt that in this country, Rick, but okay.
Okay, they're going to get bullied by a security guard.
Moot point. You get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I do like how they had two showings of the gender-neutral bathroom thing, in that Cartman was doing it entirely to be an arsehole at school, and then when people started using it, apart from Cartman went, well, it's not special now, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Some people just want to be treated different. They feel like they're better than other people. Other people do just want to be left alone for 5 minutes while they take a shit.
Yes. Yeah.
Rick, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Xenu. I didn't know much about Scientology until we got the South Park episode that has the disclaimer at the bottom. This is what Scientologists actually believe of Xenu, the powerful sovereign lord, having killed so many things in the universe that their souls come to rest in the remaining living things, which include human beings, and that's why sometimes you are sad. You've got too many screaming souls inside you. You need them realigning.
I've never really dived into the Scientology belief department because it's bollocks.
It's a scam religion started by a person who wrote a book on how to write a scam religion, who was already a sci-fi author and not a very good one.
Yeah, there's the urban legend of he was talking to another author, and depending on who's telling the story, depends on who that author is. Sometimes it's someone famous, sometimes it's someone obscure, and the other author just says, "Hey, I bet you can't make your own religion," and then that's how it started. Obviously, that's probably bollocks, but I do like the idea that Scientology was made on a drunken bet.
Yeah. Except, it's ruined people's lives, but that's beside the point. But yeah, like drawing it to my attention is what South Park did. They showed that A, this is what Scientologists actually believe, and B, that not every Scientologist even gets the chance to know that this is what they believe, because they reserve this information for the absolute uppermost level of the society.
Yeah, which you got to pay so much tivs to the church.
Yes, you've basically got to be an ultra donator, and at that point,
you're in.
After a certain amount of money, it's sunk cost fallacy. So yeah, it's just another religion doing religion stuff.
This is actually how Isaac Hayes' relationship with South Park in general started to deteriorate. In that, allegedly, I have to say allegedly because some of these claims have been refuted by his children. He started to get a bit sour when South Park was taking the piss out of Scientology because Isaac Hayes was a Scientologist.
Yes, so yeah, it was one of those where apparently Matt and Trey thought that it was hypocritical that he was okay taking the piss out of other religions, but he wasn't okay when they put Scientology in their sights.
Yeah, pretty much. There's also the fact that when Chef got killed off, a lot of his voice was obviously fucking scrambled together from old recordings. They didn't hide that fact. A lot of people were speculating that Isaac Hayes was refusing to voice because of the Scientology thing. It has come to light that is actually incorrect.
Yeah, he was basically end of life at that point. He passed away not soon after.
Yeah, he was on his deathbed basically. A lot of his decisions weren't his own to make, and some were saying that the Church of Scientology were making them on his behalf. That's not been confirmed or denied, so I won't speculate further on that, but that is a rumour that has been circulating. You can find that on the internet quite easily.
And yeah, the way that Chef died in the show was as a member of something that was clearly taking a pot shot at Scientology, but not being itself. So I think it was the NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association.
Yeah, and actually now a joke makes more sense because they do a really stupid sketch where they're like, oh, sometimes we need boys for the journeys while we go off to these exotic places to fuck children. And at the bottom of the screen it says, this is actually what NAMBLA believes in, look it up. And I'm like, I don't want to look up this association.
Yep.
But yeah,
it's rather disgusting.
If it's meant to be a pot shot at Scientology, then that makes perfect sense because it's the exact same gag.
Mm-hmm. This is what this organization actually believes and actually espouses. But yes, what is your number 2?
Matt Stone and Trey Parker can be petty as fuck.
Yeah, like it's actually something that is worth knowing.
One of the funniest examples I've got is because I used to watch South Park episodes with commentary on, which is just the two of them going, yeah, we're going to talk for about 5 minutes and then you're going to watch the rest of the episode without us talking. And one of them wasn't that long after South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut, where they lost the music award to Phil Collins that year, and they made many jokes just mocking Phil Collins because they were salty they didn't get the award. Including, and I quote, a really petty joke that's not even really offensive of, let's go ski down Phil Collins Hill, and it's just a hill with Phil Collins' real face just plastered on it in black and white. It's just fucking, just like, haha, Phil Collins is bald. That's the level of pettiness.
Yeah, they used to use photos a lot, but they don't use them very much at all these days. Like, even in the movie, they had Saddam Hussein being a photo man.
Yeah. Which is weird, because for Osama bin Laden, they drew him in the art style and everything.
Yeah, but also that was a weird one where I don't think they wanted to use the real thing.
Okay.
They wanted to have a, like, for some people, this is one of the most important episodes of South Park, because it was the first thing to make fun of Osama bin Laden.
Okay. And the only thing they took the piss out of him was the fact he had a really small dick.
Yeah, he had farty pants, and that he was a goof and all that. Just like things to laugh at that you need to laugh at the time when America was mourning for 9/11.
Sure.
Which, you know, how the turntables have turned. That they now want exactly what Al Qaeda wanted.
Don't go into that, please.
But yes,
You're number 2.
my number 2. Boo, Wendy. Boo, Wendy Testaburger, boo. This is the thing that made me pose this entire episode as a just an episode in general. That sometimes when they do something that just seems like a gag, it's actually real. And there was a guy called Ben Canop, and someone was heckling him from his house because they were recording outside this guy's house. And every time he starts talking, the other guy just starts going, "Boo, Ben! Boo, Ben Canop, boo! Boo, 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 Ben, liar, boo!" Every time he starts talking, it's fantastic.
Yeah, you sent me the video of this, and I will say the real life video is a lot funnier than the piss take.
Yeah.
Because there's a point where they stop and they just turn and look at the guy who's off camera and they go, "Are you done?" He's like, "Yeah." And they start again, and and he just starts
I think he says no. He goes, "No, I'm going to keep doing it." So he does. And like they even say, "Oh, we can be here all day," and eventually they just move. So showing that they're liars and have no integrity in what they say. But you know,
I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to waste my time all day.
No, but then again, I also wouldn't want to try and put my money where my mouth is. Like try and grandstand that we've got all day, and then just immediately backtrack on it like less than 10 minutes later.
Yeah, if I was going to say something like that, I'd be like, "Look, we've got all day. Do you want to do this all day?" And if they said yeah, I went, "Okay, fine, fuck it, we'll find somewhere else."
Yeah, we're moving.
There, you win. Does that make you feel good? Good. All right, cool. Go stroke your dick.
Yeah, you have successfully defended your house against people filming outside of it.
Dickhead.
But yeah, Boo Ben Canop is my number 2. So we get to the final one. Who's your number 1?
Don't fuck with Eric Cartman.
Yeah.
I need to
think
say
everyone
no
has
more
that.
than the words Scott Tenorman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one episode that just cements him as a credible villain for the whole show. Like every single thing he does has the undertone of he could just snap and do another one of those.
Like they even say it in the episode where they zoom in on the 3 friends while Cartman is quite literally licking Scott Tenorman's tears, going, "Oh yes, cry Scott. Oh, so salty." And it just zooms in on Carl and just goes, "Dude, I don't think we should fuck with Cartman anymore."
It doesn't stop them.
Oh God, no.
It does put the fear of Cartman into them.
Yeah. This episode starts out it's already pretty fucked up, selling a child your pubes.
Yes.
It doesn't quite deserve the recompense that Scott Tenorman gets.
No, especially since that's actually his father.
What?
Turns out in the retcon lore where Cartman's mom is his mom, that Scott Tenorman's dad is his dad.
Oh, who gives a fuck? No one gives a fuck who Cartman's dad is anymore. Yeah, Jesus, who cares? But yeah, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is another religion one. This is Joseph Smith.
Oh, the Mormon guy.
The founder of the Mormon religion.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of the lore, and I really enjoyed the little song they made about it. Dum, 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 dum.
The song that birthed a musical, really, let's be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. It's because of this episode that they realized, we got more to say about this, and they turned it into the Book of Mormon, which is it's actually a really good musical. I've seen it in London.
Do you want to give the tidbit of the Mormon church?
Yes, it was a guy who found allegedly some plates in his back garden.
Oh, that's
that
not
told
what I
him
meant.
how to...
I meant, do you want to give what the Mormon Church did in response to the Book of Mormon musical?
Oh yeah, they showed up at the Book of Mormon showings with their own Book of Mormon, as it were, saying, "You've seen the musical, now buy the book."
Better than that, they put an advertisement in the pamphlet, not the pamphlet, the
in the playbook,
in the playbook, saying, "This is based on our teachings. Come join us for a service."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen the musical, now buy the book. Come join us. Come find out what all of this comedy is based upon.
Yeah. Mormons are a fucked up type of breed, not gonna lie.
But the other side of this is that the lesson from the episode is that Stan is can't get over the fact that the kid that's the Mormon is Mormon, and that all the things that he believes are stupid and bullshit. And at the end, the kid gives a slam down of, "I've done nothing but try to be your friend. Yes, I know that this is all sus as fuck. But what he's learned from his life growing up as a Mormon is that the teachings emphasize family, and that he's had a fantastic life so far with his family, and all he's tried to be is Stan's friend, and all Stan's been in response is an asshole." And this was something that I needed to have learned at a much younger age. Like, this wasn't what taught it to me, but I needed to learn this at a much younger age, that you don't have to be a knob to someone just because they believe something that you know is wrong.
Yeah, they do this again in another episode with when they take the piss out of Richard Dawkins.
Yeah.
Where he is aggressively anti-religion. I'm an atheist. I can quite happily have it doesn't come up in conversation unless you're talking to a douchebag preacher on the corner of the street.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to be an aggressive arsehole about it.
Yeah. Man, the one time I got Jehovah's Witnesses to the door, they're saying, "Well, what God do you support?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't." And they're like, well, who do you pray to?" "Well, I don't." And it just seems so foreign to them that someone wouldn't want to change religion because they don't have one.
The only time I've ever seen Jehovah's Witnesses is literally on TV.
I made it to my 30s without encountering one coming to the house. They had been to the house, it's just that I wasn't the one to answer the door.
No, I'm just saying, that's all I've ever seen them is on TV, and the gag is they knock on the door and say, "Do you want to become a Jehovah's Witness?" And the answer's always no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically what Mormons do in mostly America, and when they send their guys out on missions, it's normally to harden their hearts that the rest of the world doesn't care about them. So when they come home, they feel even more kinship with the church.
Sure, I like the what are they called? Amish. The Amish have a thing. I think it's called Rumspringer or something. Where they've got X amount of time where it's like, go experience the modern world, and the theory is that they will be so either overindulged to the extent that they hate it, or just not get hooked in the first place. So when they come back, they're just like, "I never want to leave the farm, Father."
And some of them just go so off the rails that they never come back.
Guess what? It's actually rare because again, this is I think it's like either 2 weeks or something. It's a very limited time frame, and for a young person to just be let loose and just like go crazy, do what you want. People don't. When you're a teenager, you don't know your limits, so you just keep going and going and going, which means you're going to immediately suffer the consequences.
Yeah, absolutely.
You haven't got time to experiment and find out what you can and can't handle.
The number of people who will go, "Oh, I'll never drink again," after their first hangover. Like, for people who have got access to alcohol after that almost never turns out to be true.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, alcohol's,
but for someone who's basically only got that one chance, then yeah, it might end up being the one thing that stops them from doing it in future.
Yeah, alcohol's... We're a weird country when it comes to alcohol, Rick, because we're pretty lenient, especially compared to the Yankee Doodles.
Yeah, we glorify binge drinking while at the same time decrying it as the reason that some towns are shitholes. But also glorifying it because there's nothing more British than a bloke with a beer, apparently.
It's one of the things that we have in common with Ireland, which granted there's not much, because Britain has always been the oppressor. But one of the common things is the fact that we're both nations of alcoholics.
Yes. Yeah, it's just that we have other defining factors that people can take the piss out of, like the royal family.
Or the fact that we're oppressors.
Yeah, the toffs.
Well, me and you aren't, but yeah, certainly the people who make the rules.
Yeah. Like, there being a ruling class in general. Yeah.
We should probably say goodbye.
Yeah. So, if you like the episode, you got the comment section down below on YouTube, and if you're not listening if you are listening via one of our many audio platforms, you can instead send us an email, which would go to
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, for those at the back, nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
Yeah, I'm gonna see you again next time.
Yeah, bye guys.